Hi, and welcome to CloudAcademy.com's video series on getting started with Google Compute Engine. In this video, we'll explore network load balancing. Since it's so easy and in many cases cost efficient to run many web server instances in parallel, it will often make sense to distribute web traffic between the various instances hosting identical datasets, so no one virtual machine is ever overwhelmed by traffic. To do this, we'll have to configure load balancing. We've created two instances and configured the first as an Apache web server. Let's do the same on the second. We'll SSH in. And we'll run sudo apt get update. And sudo apt get install Apache 2. Now, let's change directory to var/www, which was installed by the Apache package. ls will list the files there, and we see index.html. which will be the web page your browser will open when it's directed to the IP address or URL associated with the IP address of this server. Let's run sudo nano index.html, and we'll leave the first line as it is. We'll simply edit the second line to read welcome to instance 2. That way we'll be able to identify when the browser hits instance 2 rather than instance 1. We'll delete the next line, Control X, and then Y for yes to save the file, and that's all we need to do from the console. Now let's start load balancing. We'll click on Network Load Balancing. We'll go back to Basic Setup to take a look at how things start. We will remain in Asia East 1 because that's the region where our two instances live. We'll allow all prefix names to begin with LB1. We could specify anything we like as long as the first character is a letter. The forwarding rule means that any traffic that is making a request of the specified external IP address, which we'll specify in a minute, that fits certain criteria. For instance, it's coming on port 80, will be subjected to our load balancing. So there's an external IP address that will be assigned to this load balancing instance. Once the instance is actually running, we can then direct our browser traffic to that IP address. If it happens to be using TCP on port 80, then it will be forwarded to one of the instances that's part of the target pool. Let's take a look at target pool. We could create a new target pool or use an existing target pool. In the meantime, LB1-pool already makes use of instance 1 in zone B and instance 2 in zone B. We could add other instances or remove these and add others in their place. In the meantime, though, that's exactly what we want. The two instances we've created, both of which are configured as Apache web servers, but with slightly different index.html files, are these two, instance 1 and instance 2. We'll leave it as it is. We could configure more precisely forwarding rules by clicking on forwarding rules at the top of the page, and similarly target pools, but we'll stick in the meantime with the basic setup. A health check will, if we require, be performed on each of the instances periodically to make sure that it's worth sending traffic to the instance. So they will send requests using, in our case, port 80 to make sure that there's a response within a quick enough frame of time to suggest that the server right now is healthy enough to take more traffic. We'll use an existing health check that will be called LB check. It will request a path on port 80 into the instance, so it'll request the default page of the web server software, Apache, that is accessed through port 80, which in our case would be the var www html index.html, and make sure that it gets a response in a quick enough time. Let's create the load balancing session. And we seem to have successfully set it up. Let's click again on Network Load Balancing. And we have LB1 rule, which is the rule we've just created, is associated with the address 107.167.183.46. Let's copy that address and open a new tab, paste the address, and it works. We've come to instance 1. Well, we see that we can reach instance 1. Let's see if after a couple of tries we don't also get to instance 2. Now, because the browser cache can sometimes prevent reloading of a page as quickly as we'd like it to, we'll try a different browser using the same IP address to see if we can get instance 2. Welcome to instance 2. Using the same IP address, we reached instance 1 using the Chromium browser, and now using Firefox, we've reached instance 2. Load balancing seems to work.